Your portfolio could be the deciding factor on whether or not a client wants to hire you or not. Let's make sure that after your client sees your portfolio, they want to hire you immediately after. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through all the elements that you need to create a better portfolio. So at this point, we all know, right? It's essential to have a portfolio in order to really land lots of clients. They want to try before they buy. Sorry, but that's the facts. They want to be able to see some of your work. So whether you're going for a freelance job or for a full-time job, you need to have a portfolio. Doesn't mean that it's the only deciding factor for you getting that job, but it's definitely part of the list of things that they're going to want to see to just keep bumping you up the list until you're number one hire. So the first thing that you need is content, and you need about 3 to 5 pieces to really showcase who you are as an instructional designer and the type of work that you do. So let's start about where you get content. There's 3 ways for you to get content. 1, use content you already have. 2, come up with brand new content. Or 3, come up with a hybrid of content, right? So it's stuff that you've already done mixed with stuff that you're doing. I'll get to that one in just a second. So let's start off with those of you that have already been working a little bit in instructional design. How do you use the content that you already have? Well, this one's a secret. It's a big one. Are you ready? You just ask. That's it. All you have to do is ask your client. You could even actually put it into your contract about utilizing the project as part of your portfolio. I don't do that. I just ask them afterwards if it's something that I want to showcase in our portfolio, if we could utilize it. They let me know yes, no, or you can if you do these couple of things. It's usually just pulling off any proprietary information and maybe their logo. And honestly, what's the worst thing that happens if you ask? They're just gonna say no. That's like really the worst thing that happened. Their project's already done, you got paid, they just said no to it. Not a big deal, because you can do my next tip. So remember I talked about a hybrid situation? Well, this is how you can use that hybrid situation. Let's say a client says, you know what, we really don't want our content out there on your website. Okay, cool, no big deal. Instead, what you can do is actually take that module, e-learning module, or that job aid, or that instructor guide, or whatever it is that you created, and use it as a framework, and use good old Dr. Google to research a topic that you're interested in, or a topic that solves a problem for your ideal client, and you just plug it in there. Let's say you created a really cool scenario-based training. What is holding you back from taking that framework, those triggers, the knowledge that you have from creating it, and creating something brand new, but just popping in your own information? Nothing. Literally nothing. You've done the hard part. You've figured out the framework. Now you just have to go in, pick a topic, and just put in some information. Honestly, the information in a lot of cases is not really that important. Like, the specifics of the topic is the content is not as important. They want to see the style of deliverable. They want to see what it is that you're going to give to them. They want to know what it is that they're going to get at the end of the project. That's all they really need to know. So don't worry so much and get your head stuck so much into like what the topic is and that you don't have any proprietary or any client work to share. That's not what they're looking for. So just, if you have already content, but you just can't maybe use the client-specific information, use it as a template or a framework. So for those of you that don't have anything for your portfolio, here are my tips for you to find content and inspiration. First, and this is my big one, think of your ideal client. Yeah, you need to know who your ideal client is, because I want you to create a portfolio piece that speaks directly to them. And the reason for that is that, like, just imagine your ideal client coming up to your website, right? You had a really great conversation. They love your resume. They love everything about you. They go to your portfolio and you're speaking directly, it feels like, to them, right? You're solving a problem that they have. Maybe the problem that they want you to solve, you already have that answer in your portfolio. That's like a no-brainer. Of course I would hire you. If I loved you in the interview, if I loved your resume, we connected, and then I go to your portfolio and see that you do really great work and you're speaking my language, you understand my industry, of course I'm gonna hire you. Like, no-brainer. So think of your ideal client and create a portfolio piece based on a problem that they have. And nothing is already been there, done that in this world. I'll give you an example. Just 2 days ago, I received a call from a local hotel. They said that ever since COVID, and I quote, they've had an issue with their management, and they've noticed that they don't have training for their managers, and they're having a lot of turnover, and the issue is their managers. And they want to work with Anchorage Training to come up with training for their managers or some sort of like onboarding. Great. Customer service and management is something that I think we all at this point are like, well, duh, like they should have had that, they should have done that. But not everyone is in a place where they do everything the right way. They're a smaller hotel. They don't have that management, that learning and development in place. So even though for maybe a larger hotel chain like Marriott, they probably, this is a been there, done that, we have this type of training. For a smaller local hotel, they don't have that. So if they're looking for someone who, knows the hospitality industry and understands management training and leadership and development training, and they see that on the portfolio, of course they're going to want to work with you. You're speaking directly to them. You're helping them solve their problem just by providing your expertise and your background and your experience. So think about your ideal client, a problem, and then solve it. Check out the web for some inspiration. I mean, the Articulate community is just incredible. I can never sing their praises enough. They've helped me out of so many binds in the past and so many questions that I've had. And they're just such a huge helpful bunch. And those e-learning challenges, that is like content gold. And just because it's geared towards e-learning doesn't mean that you necessarily just have to create e-learning out of it. You can use the topic that they provide you in a challenge as inspiration and take that topic and create it in a different form, maybe an infographic. Maybe it's, the topic is about gamification. And so instead you're going to create a piece about how to introduce gamification in a virtual setting on, whatever topic it is. Like, there's so many places or so many ways to spin something. It does not just have to be e-learning. You could also look at things like Demo Fest, right? And look at the types of pieces that were there and the types of topics, and then use that and branch off. Like, I know that there was the microaggressions training that was at Demo Fest that won this year. That was a really great piece. And so there are some, if that's a topic that's important to you, if that's a topic that interests you, and that's a topic that helps to solve a problem for an ideal client, which solve problems for most people, there are spin-offs of that. Okay, so maybe you're not going to go and steal their microaggressions training and use it as your own. Do not recommend that. But there's other facets of DEI training that are also tied to microaggressions, unconscious bias, right? Equity, the difference between equity and equality. Like, there's so many, it's just that jumping off point, that the offshoots of it that you can then create training around. So really you're just trying to see and just get inspiration as to what is it that people are putting out there, the type of work, what are people really gravitating towards, and then creating complementary pieces to that. Find a local organization that you can volunteer with. That's, gold right there. Gold. And there's probably, so many of you do so good that I know you probably already volunteer for an organization. Maybe you volunteer for your kids' PTA. Maybe you volunteer, like me, for a sorority. Maybe you volunteer for your kids' T-ball team or something like that. They probably all need some sort of training. Create something that they need and just give it to them for free in exchange for being able to use it on your portfolio. There's so many wonderful nonprofits that just don't have the budget for training. So if you can create something that isn't like totally extravagant, going to take up so much of your time that it's really at a loss for you, if you can create something small for them that you can then use on your portfolio, they'll win and then you'll win as well. Here's a good one. I love this one. Create a portfolio piece that walks the visitor to your portfolio through your ID journey. Like, how cool would that be? Is if I look at your portfolio and I'm able to learn more about you and how you became an instructional designer, or your philosophy on learning and development, and all of the different industries that you've worked in through a portfolio piece. Maybe through as an infographic, whatever. There's so many different ways that you can spin that. And it's just the ability for you to create something that's a little bit more personable and makes that connection with you as a human. Join ID communities. There are so many communities out there. I've got the Freelance Learning and Development Network on Facebook. I know that there are so many other communities, free communities, that do portfolio challenges. I'm in particular thinking of my ID twin, my good friend, Nicole Papiano from Your Instructional Designer, her Facebook group, and I'll link that Facebook group down below. Her Facebook group does quarterly portfolio challenges where she gives you a brief and you create a portfolio piece around that. That's a way, if you create one every quarter, you're creating 4 pieces. Has to do the math for a second. Math is not my strong suit. That's 4 portfolio pieces in 1 year that you can create. And I said all you need is 3 to 5. And if you're already starting with 1 or 2, you could have your stuff done in no time. And if you just go into the search bar in her Facebook group, you could just search past portfolio challenges to see the briefs and then use that for content. So you don't have to wait an entire year to create those 4 pieces. Go back and see what's already been done in those briefs and use that as content for your website or your portfolio. So make sure you check out Nicole's Facebook group down below. She is an absolute gem and just amazing thought leader in the industry and just so experienced and amazing. You'll definitely get a lot of great things by checking her out. So I think that you know that I'm really working hard to build a community of IDs here on my channel. I love community and I love culture of care. So let's help each other out. Leave a comment down below sharing where you get inspiration for your portfolio pieces. Okay, so at this point, I know that a lot of you are probably thinking, Vanessa, I don't know articulate storyline. Friends, you don't need to know articulate storyline to start your portfolio. Frankly, you don't even need storyline if you have a 0 interest in ever being an e-learning developer. Shocking, I know. Instructional design is not just e-learning. So if you don't want to do the actual programming and coding and the triggers and the variables, then I wouldn't put pieces of e-learning on your portfolio. Personally, I've been doing a lot of hiring for learning experience designers and instructional designers. And for me right now, what's so important is that you're able to write. You're able to write curriculum. You're able to take an idea or a challenge that a client is having and walk through the needs analysis process with them. Put together a plan for them, put together a roadmap of how to address their problem. I want to see instructional designers that can, take a topic that we are now going to create training on and then take it from here to there and create, holistic pieces around it, right? And not just that one and done training. That to me is most important. And that is what I wasn't seeing a ton of when I was looking at resumes. I'm seeing a lot of e-learning, but not a lot of able to see a lot of people's writing. So include pieces that are things that get you to that final deliverable, right? So maybe it's a storyboard, maybe it's a design document, maybe it's a participant guide, maybe it's a content map, maybe it's a project plan. I love people who can project manage. I'm big on project management. I love project managers. Maybe it's a project management timeline. Imagine taking your portfolio, and this is truly next level. Imagine taking your portfolio and creating different deliverables that are all the pieces to the end goal. So you set it up with a case study, right? That, client ABC came to you with a challenge for, we'll take customer service, right? Customer service. You have you walk them through. Step 1 that we did was we performed a needs analysis. You showcased the survey, a copy of the survey, maybe not everything, but just a few things. The needs analysis document, maybe some like an analysis, the report that you provided your stakeholders at the end of what you found based on the needs analysis that you performed. That's like one piece of content right there. And then step 2 is what you recommended as the final products or the learning deliverables that are needed. Then maybe step 3 is a storyboard for the e-learning that you recommended, or a job aid that you recommended, or a one-sheeter for a facilitator for a workshop that you recommended. There's all these different pieces that you can provide that all showcase who you are as an instructional designer. And imagine walking them through these different steps, like you're really walking them through your process and what you contributed and how you were able to get from this is what our problem is to execution and hopefully even evaluation. I really love the idea of telling a story through your portfolio. We all know that storytelling is like one of the tenets of instructional design and how to keep people's attention and really, make it memorable and engage. We remember stories so well. So if you can tell a story through your portfolio, it's going to make you more memorable and a higher chance that you will get called for that job or you'll get, called back for that second interview. So I really like this idea of taking a story and walking it through your portfolio. So click the like button if you want me to do a video walking you step by step on how to utilize storytelling in your portfolio. Okay, so all of this takes me to my next point. Less is more. You don't need a lot of content. You don't need a bunch of 15-minute pieces. They're not going to go through it. 3 to 5 slides, pages, things like that. 3 to 5 pieces of content, 3 to 5 slides or pages is more than enough to get a sense of who you are as an instructional designer. It's about all they really have time to review, all they really have time to, check out in your portfolio, especially when they're looking at a lot of different people. So make sure that you keep it short, impactful, and you pack a punch. Next thing, so important, and I think you see it as a theme through all of my content. Be you. Do not create portfolio pieces that are going to attract clients that you're going to hate working with. It's just going to make you miserable. If you want to continue to be happy in your future and you want to really thrive as an instructional designer, you want to be working with organizations, people at jobs that you want to be working with, that you really vibe with. So make sure that in your portfolio, you are being true to who you are, true to your learning philosophy, true to the type of work that you want to be doing, and have a little bit of fun. Create a portfolio piece about a hobby that you have. That's really going to tell them more about who you are and some of your likes, and maybe that person has a similar hobby and you guys can vibe off of that. Again, this is like the most important thing, and I kind of touched upon this earlier. Don't overthink your portfolio. Perfectionism is just procrastination. That's all you're doing by not, putting together a portfolio because you don't have the content, because you don't have, it's not good enough, this and that. You're just procrastinating. You're just putting off where you could be because you just are too afraid. You're letting imposter syndrome take over. Don't overthink it. Done is better than perfect. And frankly, you're never going to get to perfect. And everyone's first portfolio sucks. It's the truth. I hate my first portfolio, and I know that so many other instructional designers feel the same way. But how amazing is it to see that first one and then 11, 12 years later to now see where I am as an instructional designer? Such an evolution, such a growth, and it's actually fun to see how far I've gone, and it's good that I've gotten better, right? It shows that I've improved my skills. So it's okay if your first portfolio piece isn't your best work. It's going to continue to improve over time. You can always replace things as you need, okay? It's never just done. You don't create a portfolio and then it's done forever. You create your portfolio, and then as you get better and as you improve, you continue to add more, or you take some stuff off and add the new stuff. Okay, so now that your portfolio is going to be a client magnet, let's make sure that you have the complete setup for your instructional design business. I want you to watch this video next, where I walk you through step by step everything that you need as an instructional designer to set up your business, from invoicing, proposals, contracts, all the goods. So make sure you watch that video next. Friends, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.